So let me tell you. So here we are going to analyze the business data, right? So whenever you are trying to analyze the business data, you should take care of the data that is really helpful for your analytics. So you have to extract the data that is really helpful for your analytics. So do not capture the data that is not really helpful for your analytics, okay? Because it doesn't make sense. It will be overburden on the server or a database. Unnecessary information if you keep it in the reports and all. So that is the reason why here the overall enterprise might be having different types of departments like sales department, production, operations, HR, accounts. So a lot of departments will be there. So for example, if I want to understand the sales data, let me Leah, could you please go into the mute mode so that you will not get disturbance. Otherwise, the recording will be getting a lot of disturbance. Okay, yeah, fine. So whenever you have a question, then you can come out of the mute mode and you can ask me. Okay, right. So data warehousing database is a subject oriented because in enterprise, a lot of departments will be there. So let us say if I want to analyze the sales information, then what I will do, probably I will capture the information that is related to only sales department, like products information, sales information, stores information. Okay, so how many products which were sold, what is the unit price, what are the product IDs, product names. So and what is the store ID where this particular transaction happened. So this type of information that is related to only sales will be captured, and that data will be stored in the some sales data mart or sales data warehousing database, and that can be used for the further analysis purpose, further reporting purpose. So we will be able to create different types of databases for sales department and HR department separately, finance department separately. So then it is purely dependent upon the particular department. So it is a subject oriented. Only that particular department related information is available in that particular data warehouse database or a data mart. We can call it as data mart also, not a problem. So no other information that is not really required for your analysis is not going to be available in that particular database. So that is the reason why it is subject oriented, purely subject oriented. So it is going to give you the information that is related to that particular department. Okay, so now as per WH Inmon, the data warehousing database is integrated. Simple point. So why it is integrated? As we have already discussed at the time of explaining the definition of the data warehousing database is an integrated database. Why? Because in my situation, let us say we have a Walmart. If you take the Walmart as an example, Walmart is a retail chain, so it is going to have operations across the globe, US, UK, Canada, India. So in a lot of countries they have operations. So if you take the data, if you take the production data that is generated by their online stores or retail stores of Walmart, so in a day, billions of transactions will be happened across the globe because a lot of retail outlets, a lot of online stores will be available for the Walmart, right? So a lot of customers will purchase products from the Walmart. So whenever they purchase a product, a lot of data will be associated with that particular transaction. Okay. So all this transactional data will be stored in backend servers like production servers. So let us assume that we have SQL Server as a production server. So this production server will have all this detailed data, transactional data. Okay. So now they are having data in SQL Server, and some historical data is also there. At that time, they used to keep it in some Oracle databases. Okay, so they have combination of both SQL Server and Oracle database, and not only the DB2, Sybase. So different RDBMS databases are there, and they are going to keep all this data in different databases. Now they want to integrate all this data because I want to get the summarized data. So let us say if I want to see the in India, what are the top 10 products which are having more sales. So I want to get the top 10 products sales wise in only in India. So I want to integrate all this detailed data that is available in different sources like the Oracle database, SQL Server, DB2, Sybase, sometimes Excel files, flat files. So I want to integrate all this data into single database. So my destination database is what? SQL Server database. So I have sources, multiple heterogeneous sources are there. Excel files, flat files, and databases. So I want to integrate them using the SSIS packages. Okay. So this is what integrated. That means you are collecting the information from multiple sources and you are keeping all this data in single database for building the data warehouse database. Okay. For creating the summarized report. So this is what integrated. That's why we call data warehouse database is an integrated database. Now, third point. So he's saying that data warehouse database is a historical database. So why it is historical database? So whenever you check the data warehouse database, always you will have huge information in the data warehouse database. Okay, so like years of information, last 10 to 5 years information will be available in the historical database. So whenever you have a huge historical information, then only you will be able to predict the future with proper results. Not 100% you can predict. Anywhere you have a probability, right? So, but you will be able to get more accurate results in terms of forecasting or prediction. So, if you do not have a huge historical data, then you will not be able to do the sales forecast. So, let us say if you have only 3 months of information, are you able to predict the sales for next 2 years or 3 years with only 3 months of information? You cannot do that probably. So if you have 10 years of data with you, then probably you can analyze the trend. So in 2001, this is the sales, 1000 million is the sales. In 2002, 1500 million. Again, 2003, 2000 million. So you will be able to say that, okay, so every year it is increasing in a positive trend. So if you do the trend analysis, you will simply understand that, okay, for next year also, you might be having the positive growth. So this much might be the sales growth. So this much might be the income growth, something like that. So you will be able to analyze future values. You will be able to forecast the future values based upon the huge historical data. Whenever you have more historical data, then only you will be able to predict the future with the accurate values. If you do not have much historical data, then you will not be able to do that, right? So in production databases, generally the volume is very huge. Detailed transactions will be stored in the production databases. That is the reason why they are not going to maintain more historical data. They will keep maximum 3 to 6 months data on it. Then they will archive it in some other files. They will remove that data and they will keep it in some other files. But when you talk about data warehousing database, it should be having huge data, like the last 5 to 10 years data should be there. Because we are doing reporting and we are doing analytics on top of the data warehousing database. So that is the reason we call it as historical database. And fourth point, it is time variant. So very simple point. Whenever you do any transaction, if you purchase any product or if you sell any product, there should be some time information is associated with that particular transaction, right? So when did you purchase that product? Some timestamp will be there. On specific day, you purchased that product. So if you have multiple transactions, then if I want to see last 1 year sales information, then how would I get that information? I'm going to group the sales based upon the year of that particular timestamp value. So I want to see the year-wise data. So I will apply group by based upon the year information of that timestamp. So while in the same way I can get the year-wise sales, quarter-wise sales, month-wise sales, day-wise sales report. So different time variants are there, right? Year-wise, quarter-wise, month-wise, day-wise. So these are all different variants which are available for the analysis purpose. So you can track the sales with the help of time variant. So whenever you load the data into data warehouse database, you are going to create all these time variants. You will track all this time variants so that you will be able to analyze the data year-wise, quarter-wise, month-wise, or day-wise. So it helps to analyze the data. It helps to analyze the business. Okay, so that is the reason why data warehousing database is a time variant. Okay, so subject oriented, integrated, historical, and time variant. So this is according to RVH Technologies. Data warehousing database is a subject oriented, integrated, historical, and time variant. Any doubts in this concept as of now, whatever we have discussed? Any doubts so far? Both of you, Chiru and Lina?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. Chiru, any doubts? Can I go ahead? You can type yes or no also. Not a problem. Here we have text message option also there. Right. Okay, great. So let's move to the next part. So before starting the data warehousing architecture, let me show you what are the modules which are available in MSBI. Okay. So MSBI contains three modules. First one is SSIS. Okay. SQL Server Integration Services. And second one is SSRS, SQL Server Reporting Services. And third one is SSAS, SQL Server Analysis Services. Okay, SSIS, SSRS, SSAS. So apart from SQL Server, that is the database engine. SQL Server is a database engine. So when you install the SQL Server in your system, so you are going to get all these three modules along with the SQL Server. When you install SQL Server, you will get an option at the time of installation. So you will be able to select all of them: SSIS, SSRS, and SSCS. Okay. So we are going to use all these three modules in data warehousing. So how we are going to use them accordingly? Okay. So let's see the data warehousing architecture. Okay. So now let's come to data warehousing architecture. Right. So let us assume that we have four sources, four different data sources. Okay. So that means we are getting the data from SQL Server and Oracle and Excel files and some flat files like .csv files, comma separated value files. Okay. CSV stands for comma separated value files, and flat files like .txt files also. So we assume that we have four different sources. That means your production data is stored in all these different sources. Okay. So let's take first one is SQL Server, and some data is stored in Oracle. Some data is stored in some Excel files and flat files like .csv and txt files. Okay. Now what we need to do, we need to integrate all the data. We need to collect the data from all the sources and we need to keep it in a single database. So that is what your enterprise data warehouse. We call it as enterprise data warehouse or EDW. Okay. Now I want to integrate this data into this EDW using SSIS packages. we have already discussed, right? So SSIS is a SQL Server Integration Services. So we are going to use integration services packages in order to extract the data and transform the data and load the data. So this process is called ETL. Okay. So ETL, E stands for extraction, T stands for transformation, and L stands for loading. Okay, so extraction means you are extracting the data from different sources, SQL Server. So first source is what? Your database. It is a RDBMS database, or also RDBMS database. So you will use SQL commands here to extract the data from these two databases. Okay, so we are going to use SQL statements here. That's the reason I asked you. So any of you have knowledge on SQL statements. Okay, so we are going to do that at the time of practicals. So how to retrieve the data using SQL statements from the databases. So we are going to use SQL statements to extract the data from databases, and from Excel. Yes, we have both SQL facility and we have other facilities also. So we will see how to extract the data. So from Excel also we are going to extract the data. From flat files also we are going to extract the data by creating the connection managers in SSIS packages. So after extraction done, what is transformation? Transformation means you are sometimes trying to clean data. Okay. So why need to clean the data? Because someone has entered value something like Hyderabad. Okay, let us assume that we have one table called location table that is available in SQL Server or Oracle. Okay, both databases having one table called location table. In that location table, someone has entered as Hyderabad full-fledged name, and someone has entered it as HYD. In Oracle, someone has entered it as HYD. Okay, now there is no consistency in the data. Both are representing the same value, that is Hyderabad only, but it should be either Hyderabad or HYD. Only one value should be followed in your data warehouse database. When you load this data into data warehouse database, you should follow either Hyderabad or HYD. So data should be consistent, but here you find the inconsistency. So you will clean the data when you load this data into data warehouse database, because see, this enterprise data warehouse is nothing but some database, right? So let us assume that we are going to create SQL Server database for loading the data into data warehouse database. This is again one database. So when you load it, you will either load the Hyderabad value or HYD value, not both of them. Okay, correct. So we are going to clean the data using transformations. Now, one more thing, data type conversion. Sometimes, okay, we are going to use transformations for data type conversion purpose also. So let us say we have one column called employee ID, EMP with the integer data type in your source table. Okay, in your source table you have integer data type, but in your destination table, your client is asking you to convert it into some string data type, varchar data type. Okay, so you want to convert employee ID into varchar. Okay, this is your destination database. Now, how we are going to convert the data type from integer to varchar? Using transformations. So you can change the existing data types of the data. Okay, from integer to varchar, varchar to integer. You can, in a way, you can, according to the requirement, you can convert the data type. So we are going to use transformations for data type conversion also, for cleaning the data also. And sometimes your client do not want all the data to be loaded into the destination tables. So this is your source table. From when you load the data into destination table, you don't have to load the entire data. Sometimes you might be having some filters. Okay, you want to filter the data. So For filtering purpose also we are going to use the transformations. So you will apply some condition. So whatever data that is meeting that criteria, let us say salary greater than 2000, only these records must be loaded into the destination table in your data warehouse database. So you will apply some transformation to filter the data, where the records which are having salary greater than 2000, only those records get loaded into your destination table. Okay. And also you will use the transformations for creating the new columns or derived columns. Okay. Sometimes, let us say in your source table, in your SQL Server, this is your source, right? So here in this, we have a employee table. This employee table is having two columns called basic salary, okay, and commission. Another column is commission, but you do not have the total salary column. Okay, so at the time of loading this data into data destination database, you want to create a new column called total salary. Total salary. So how you are going to get the total salary? By combining both basic salary and commission. So if you sum up both basic salary and commission on the fly at the time of loading the data, then you will get the total salary. So this total salary is not available in your source table. It is going to be created on the fly at the time of loading the data into destination database. Okay. So this is called derived columns. Okay. Now, so using transformations, you will be able to create the derived columns, and you can filter the data, and you can convert the existing data types, and you can clean the data. You can remove the inconsistent data. So you can do all these jobs in the transformations. You will have different types of transformations. So we will see one of each and every transformation at the time of doing the practice. Okay, practicals. Just give me a second. Right. So after transformations are applied, then you are going to load the data into destination database. Okay. So now after loading it successfully, we are going to use that information, right, for reporting purpose or for analytics purpose. So that is the reason we are creating this data warehouse database, right? So let me create two reports here. Let me create two reports. And we name it as report 1 and report 2. Okay, so report 1 and report 2, and here we are going to use SSRS. Okay, in order to create the reports, we are going to use the second module called SSRS, SQL Server Reporting Services. Okay, now again you are trying to extract the data from SQL Server database in order to create the report, in order to build the report. So you are going to use SQL commands here. Here also you are going to use the SQL commands. Okay, using SSRS reporting tool, you are going to create the reports. At the time of extracting data from your data warehouse database, you are going to use SQL commands. So this is what data warehousing architecture. Then I explained SSIS and SSRS. Then how about SSAS, SQL Server Analysis Services? That is third module, right? So where exactly you are going to use that? So here we can create the data warehouse database. From there you can do the reporting. And we have another option also. We are going to create one more database. The database structure is different. We call it as OLAP cube. Okay, so we are going to take this data from the data warehouse database. Then we are going to create a OLAP cube. The data will be stored in the cube format. That is why we call it as a OLAP cube. Let me write OLAP cube. So OLAP stands for Online Analytical Processing Cube. Okay, the database structure is MDDB. MDDB, multi-dimensional database. Generally, if you see the production databases, these are all OLTP, right? Online transactional processing. That means only detailed data will be stored in the database tables. Data will be stored in the tables format. So database structure is what? RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. But here data will be stored in cube format. Okay. So database structure is MDDB, multi-dimensional database. So we are going to create a multi-dimensional database with the help of SSAS, SQL Server Analysis Services. Why it is really required? Because sometimes if you want to do ad hoc reporting or if you want to do analytics, then probably you should create a OLAP cube. So OLAP cube is really required in order to do the analytics and ad hoc reporting. So normal SQL Server tables are not really helpful at that time, because sometimes client might be asking you some typical questions like what are the top 10 products which are performing very well in the last month for in a specific country, in a specific state, in a specific city, for a specific product category or subcategory. So a lot of criteria he will mention that. So in order to write that SQL statement itself, it will take a lot of time. And in order to get the result set also, it will take a lot of time, because in a day, millions of transactions will be happen. If you take the Walmart example also. But what if you sum up all the detailed data for the last 1 month, that too in a specific country, in a specific state? So it will take a lot of time, obviously. So you do not have a facility to facility to by simply dragging and dropping the values here and there and doing the analysis, analysis on the data. So that is the reason why OLAP cube comes into the picture, and it gives you that facility. So you will create one model, data model, then you will create that OLAP cube and you will give access to the client. So end user will directly connect to the OLAP cube by using the Excel file, and simply he will do the pivot table kind of structure, and he will do the analysis. He will drag the product. He will drag the product categories, and he will drag the month information row wise, column wise. He will do all the analysis. He can do all the analysis by simply dragging and dropping. So he will be able to get the summarized information on fraction of seconds for whatever questions he has. So that type of facility only will be available with the help of OLAP cubes, not with the SQL Server. So that is the reason why we are going to create the SSAS for ad hoc reporting and analysis purpose. Okay. Now here also, after creating the OLAP cube, also you will be able to create the reports. Okay. You will be able to create the reporting after creating the OLAP cube. You can create the reports using SSRS. You can get the data. You can fetch the data from the OLAP cube. Then you can build the reports using SSRS. But here you are extracting the data from SQL Server. That's why you have used the SQL commands. But here you are extracting the data from OLAP cube. So database structure is different, multi-dimensional database. Okay. So that is the reason why we are going to use some other language called MDX, multi-dimensional expressions. MDX stands for multi-dimensional expressions. Okay, so using this language, we are going to extract the data. So no need to be master on MDX, because we have GUI capability here, graphical user interface capability. When you drag and drop, automatically inbuilt MDX query will be generated, but we should have some knowledge on that. So how we need to understand that. Tomorrow, if you want to do some modifications to that particular query, then you should be able to understand that, right? So we are going to discuss all these things at the time of SQL Server Analysis Services in detail. There. So this is what whole picture of data warehousing architecture. So we are getting the data from sources, then we are going to do the reporting, or we are going to create a OLAP cube and then do the reporting and analysis purpose, analytics and all. Okay. So any doubts so far? Chiru, Lina, any doubts? Any doubts so far? Whatever we have discussed. Chat option also. So if you want to chat, yes, you can.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Lina, I can hear you now.
I'm sorry, I was talking, but I think my headphones were pulled out, so you could hear me.
Actually, the thing is that this entire process is nothing but ETL process. So whatever we are doing,
Okay.
extraction, transformation, loading, this is the ETL process. We call it as the ETL. So we are extracting data
Okay.
from SQL Server, Oracle, Excel, platforms from any source. If you extract the data and then if you transform the data and if you load the data into some other destination, this process is
Right.
called ETL process. For doing
Okay.
this ETL process, we are going to use SSIS packages. So SQL Server Integration Services tool will be used to do the ETL process. So this is for everything. The entire process is called ETL process.
So
And
the
we are
tool
using
for
SSIS packages. Yeah.
So what I was trying to ask was the tool for all these different databases are going to be different, or is it the same SSIS tool that you use to extract the data from all these databases?
Same SSIS packages for any source,
Okay.
for any database. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So the process is called ETL process, but we are doing SSIS packages to do that ETL process here from
Okay.
MSBI point of view. For other
Okay.
applications, some other tools will be available. For reporting, we are going to use SSRS. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Right. Now, fine. Let me tell you the loading types. But if I want to explain loading types, then I should create one project and I have to show you the entire package. So how to extract the data from, I will take some example like from flat file, I will extract the data and I will transform the data. Then I will load it into the table. At the time of loading the data into the table, then I will explain this load types. Okay. So here I explain the extraction process and transformation. Like so different types of transformations will be available. So I will explain the loading types also. But at the time of loading the data, if you see that how we are going to load the data into the table, then you will understand that in a proper manner. So at that time we are going to discuss that. So as of now, let me show you how to create one project for the SSIS packages, because we are going to start with SSIS packages, then SSRS. Finally, we will come to the analysis services, SSES. Okay. So this is the order. Now, let me create show you one project. Then we will do that in next class. Okay. So what are the objects available in SSIS packages and all? I will explain that architecture and all. Okay. So let me create one new project for SSIS. Let's go to the all programs, SQL Server 2012. And here, after installing that SQL Server 2012 successfully, then you will be able to get this option, SQL Server Data Tools. Okay, so click on that. See, here Visual Studio is going to be open. We can click on New Project. See, click on New Project. So let us select the Integration Services Business Template. Now, let's select the Integration Services Project. I want to save this project information in a specific folder. So let me browse for the folder, go to the packages, and I keep it in the SSIS packages. Select that folder. provide a name to the package. Something like I will keep SSIS underscore class 23. So this is my project name. Then let me click on OK. The moment you click on OK button, it is going to create a project with the name SSIS class 23. See, one project has been created. So this is a Visual Studio and it is a integrated development environment for creating the packages, for designing the packages, because you should have one environment, right? So in order to design the package, because you have sources and you have destination table. So you want to extract the data from source and you want to apply some transformation according to the business requirement. Then you want to load the data into destination table. See, automatically it has created one package, package.dtsx. Okay. So we are going to see all this architecture and what are the different objects available in the packages. So we are going to discuss all these things in tomorrow's class. So it is continued. Okay. So like we have a lot of things to explain here. So this is the way to create the project file. So as of now, we created a project for SSIS packages. So I will explain all these things in tomorrow's class. Clear? And also let me show you how to open the SQL Server also, because I thought you are new to the SQL Server, right? So let me show you that also. Let me click on it. All programs. Go to Microsoft SQL Server 2012. Then click on SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, just below to the SSDT, SQL Server Data Tools. So this is the Management Studio. So click on that. So SQL Server Management Studio is a graphical user interface between the database engine and the user. So if I want to store the data into the database, then I'm going to use the SQL Server Management Studio. If I want to extract the data, if I want to retrieve the data, whatever data that I have stored earlier, if I want to see the data, then I will use some SQL statements to retrieve the data from databases. Again, I'm going to use the SQL Server Management Studio. If I want to modify the existing data, hello?
I'm sorry, I cannot see yours. It still shows the SSIS project that you created.
Oh, I think it gets stuck
Hello?
over there. I think it is the screen might be freezing due to some low network connection. If internet connection is slow, then sometimes it might be stuck over there. Are you able to see now?
Okay.
Are you able to see the SQL
No,
Server
it still shows the previous page.
Okay, okay. Might be
No,
some.
it still shows the SSIS project.
Might be internet connection problem.
Shows it.
Is it fine? Is it fine now?
It shows it's.
Okay, let me show you again then. I'm just going to the all programs.
Okay.
Okay, now Microsoft SQL Server 2012. Now click on Management Studio. So it is going to open the SQL Server Management Studio window. Here we will select server type as database engine and provide the server name. So provide server name is Sudhakar here. Now Windows authentication. Click on connected. So we are going to connect to the database engine. And if you go to the databases node, see a lot of databases are there. I have created some of the databases. So it will have some system databases. Those are inbuilt. So you cannot do any modifications to this databases. And these are all user databases. So we can create our own database and we can store our data and we can modify the existing data. We can retrieve the data, whatever data we have stored already. So we can do all these operations using the SQL statements. So this is SQL Server. If you click on if I select one database, something like class 21, if I right click on it, so it will provide you new query. So just click on new query. Otherwise, directly you can click here also, new query. See, we are connecting to the class 21. So if I want to extract the data from any table, so let me expand this database. If I go to the tables, see, we have a lot of tables here. If you expand any table like EMP, if you expand the columns, see, this table is having 3 columns: employee number, employee name, department name. So employee number is a integer data type. It is showing int. That means integer type of data will be, numerical data will be stored in the employee number column. Varchar 20. So it is a string data. Character data will be stored in the employee name column. Department name, varchar 20. That means length is 20 till the length of 20 characters can be inserted into the department name column. Again, varchar, character data. So if I want to extract the data from this table, then I will drag this table name here, something like this. Then I will use select star from that table name. So this is table name. Then what is this DBO? DBO is the owner name. Okay, schema name. DBO is a schema name. In this schema, we have EMP table. So execute this or press F5 button in your keyboard. So the moment I click on execute button, it is retrieving the data. Already we have inserted some records. How many records are there? 14 records. The bottom of the right corner, you will be able to see the total rows, 14 rows. See, 14 rows are there. See, I told